It's Friday. If you don't have the earworm for Aaliyah going back and forth, we're going to put it in there sometime today. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and this is not a video show, and we don't do the lyrics anymore, but we are going to give you things you might not have heard. And some of these you probably have heard because they're pretty big stories that have been floating around that are finally coming to a head in some cases. These are going to be 8 stories, the latest in information, politics, current events, and pop culture that you helped us curate as good stories. Conversational stories, if you will. And if you're watching the video, yeah, we're going to talk about that guy pretty close. So you'll hear him and 7 other stories that you helped us deem as conversational. We'll explain that in just a bit once we get through the whole news headlines when we tease our story for the weekend, for Monday, essentially. We'll do some sales stuff, and then we'll get to the second show, if you will, the fun stuff happening right after everything else. So stick around for the fun stuff. Give us about 12 minutes. We will get there guaranteed. Also, if you think you want to know more about us but want me to talk less about me, go to thisisaconversationproject.com, the main website that tells you all about us right there. And do it when we're done with this thing, please. Let's get the full view, full attention to the stories of the moment. Let's get into those stories. Today happens to be Friday, September the 8th, 2023. Let's get the stories, the headlines that you said were conversational for this day. Your help, if you will. The first story is a big one. Jimmy Fallon staffers come forward with allegations of body shaming and mistreatment on set. First, it was Lizzo, who was, everyone's favorite rapper who everyone loved and was so body positive. And now she's got those allegations. Now, apparently, the same goes for the night show starring Jimmy Fallon, should say, as many of the cast members did a big expose in Rolling Stone, basically saying that Jimmy Fallon, although he seems like this gaffable, lovable, just sort of geeky guy, actually bullies and body shames, mistreats a big chunk of the crew at the night show. One employee reported losing almost 20 pounds and crying themselves to sleep every night after, fat shaming. Fallon exposed a big apology yesterday for the treatment of his staff out there in the public stature, in the social media, whatnot, saying the standard things. But one thing that does pop up is a lot of clips of just sort of various snipes at Jimmy Fallon, which seem like jokes, including one that seems in no more context, less of a joke, where Martin Short and Steve Martin doing a hit talking about their show, Only Murders in the Building, and of course their traveling show, where Steve Martin says, "This is a great show to be on because you are the host that does the best job of faking like you care." It's a hilarious line and a throwaway line, and Jimmy sort of goes with it, but as you see from reality, we're seeing some going on. So something apparently was going on, and people go deeper into detail in this one. We'll see if there's any hits come the return of the talk shows for Jimmy Fallon himself. Now let's go to Rudy Franke. I think it's pronounced Frank, a YouTube influencer who racked up 4 more counts of child abuse over the week. This we pulled from Jezebel, and they have a intention of being really kind of pointed in their stuff. This is a big one. We talked about this earlier last week or so. Ruby Franke is a popular family YouTuber, and her business partner have been charged with 6 felony counts of aggravated child abuse. That's 4 more. 2 of Franke's children were found with duct tape around their ankles and wrists and were rushed to the hospital, where the other 4 children were put into care of Utah's Child and Family Services. Kevin Franke, Ruby's Hildebrand's ex-husband, hosted a cult-like and authoritarian parenting advice group called Connections, which turned into a YouTube channel in 2022. Franke received constant criticism for her strict parenting style and withholding of food from kids. So essentially, anyone can be a YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber, and anyone with any sort of kind of idea can make this happen. Apparently, a lot of people were very into this authoritarian thing, which is kind of contrary to how things are being done today, and the whole woke stuff. Apparently, authoritarianism and torture aren't that far behind. Speaking of torture, we're going to talk about Elon Musk again, as a new book is saying that Elon Musk sabotaged the attacks on Russia for Ukraine on purpose. New details from this book, which is done by Walter Isaacson, the man who gave us the really deep details of Steve Jobs, and I don't know if he really immortalized him, but he basically cemented the idea of him and people who already had him cemented. Same thing happened with the context for Elon Musk. New book from Walter Isaacson. Basically, the episodes we have right now are basically going deeper into detail about his Starlink work. Now, Rowan Farrow, the New Yorker, reported last month that Musk was essentially turning it off on purpose, and there was a fight for the U.S. to sort of pay him extra to keep it on. Now, the insight to his mindset is that Elon Musk apparently had some sort of talks to some high-level Russian officials, and they were like, yeah, if Ukraine's really good at this, we're going to drop nuclear bombs. And so Elon Musk, the Iron Man of our times, decided it's really bad for Ukraine to be good at this because then Russia would drop nuclear bombs. So let's turn off Starlink and make sure it's not good for any weapon stuff. So they're not as good at weaponing, and then the Russians won't bomb us with nuclear bombs. That's essentially what we have here. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk is all over the place and in your business, even when it's not your business. We learned of this story yesterday, and it's very kind of sad, but hopefully the ending will be better. And it's really detailed, but the headline reads, Cave rescue teams launch major operation to save American researcher in southern Turkey. And now, why is there an American researcher stuck in a cave in southern Turkey? Is this a collapse? Was there something going on? Mark Dickey is a world-renowned cave expert, and he was looking to discover more cave trails, essentially, inside of this very, very dark, deep cave. It's the third deepest cave in Turkey. Unfortunately, he suffered some internal injuries from internal bleeding while down in the cave, and he is too far down to climb his way out with his recovery. He is more or less okay. They've gotten cameras down to him, so they've recorded some images and him talking, saying, I'm fine, I just can't get out. And so because the cave is so narrow, so deep, and so treacherous, it usually takes somewhere like 18 hours to get out of the cave on your own. With a man with his serious illness and internal bleeding, he can't do it by himself, and he may need a stretcher to get out, which stretchers don't fit inside these caves. Various members from various parts of the world are now descending to get this man out. This is not just some sort of pleasure dive. This is a man who really was doing research in one of the very dangerous cave and came about a very serious injury. We are definitely praying this one is resolved on the better end going forward. What should take hours to get out of the cave may take a few days to figure out how to get him out. We hope he can get out in a few days. Now, the Paqui One Chip challenge has been pulled from shelves following a teen's death. We talked about this a few days ago, where the Paqui One Chip challenge, we all know from that, is essentially a marketing tactic for all the people eating really hot stuff. It also says on the package, this is for adults, not for children, and be careful with this. Because of this, less children are doing it on TikTok, which is good, and because of this, Paqui has just pulled it off the shelves, so people can't do that. There's literally nothing wrong with the actual challenge or the chip, except for the fact that it's extremely dangerous, and you kind of need to be an adult with some faculties to figure it out. This is the first known death that we know from this case here, especially on a teen, and because people do people things, and people tend to do even dumber people things after it's proved it's not such a great thing. Paqui has pulled this chip and the One Chip Challenge product off the market. Let's say for now. Danny Masterson sentenced to 30 years of life in prison. We posted earlier in the day about the fact that Danny Masterson was probably going to see his sentencing today. It came out fairly late in the evening last night, and it is what it is. 30 to life, essentially, going away for various things. Now, one thing about Danny Masterson, this wraps up into Church of Scientology. All the Scientologist critics, including Leah Remini, of course, chimed in on this one, and all the people who are sort of supporting it are kind of silent, if you will. Danny Masterson got a chance to be bolstered up and be protected in a lot of cases from the Church of Scientology, but the allegations that led to this, apparently not. We'll see more details as things come out, as things get started, because we pay attention to people's business, and this is business we will pay attention to. A podcaster who peddles anti-Semitism hosts Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, none of this is anything out of the ordinary, but this is pretty much one of the weirder things we popped up in the feeds. We put it out there, and you guys were like, oh, really? Let's check this thing out. Vivek Ramaswamy is called the upstart Republican presidential candidate in this article. Appeared on a podcast of an influencer known to broadcast against the Jews. The 38-year-old tech entrepreneur walked back his positions after being lambasted by rivals in the primary field. So it's one of those things where Ramaswamy is everywhere. It's happening a lot in these cases. Some of the fringer candidates will be on the fringer things. They'll spend a lot of time on Newsmax, if you will, and things like that. But this is literally a podcaster, an independent guy who's a big influencer, which can tell you what you want to tell about that one, in the fact that he pulled in Ramaswamy, who's talking to everybody, and, he's a believer in God, and not anti-Semitic, even though he said a lot of anti-Semitic things in his belief of God. He's also Hindu, which confuses the matter a bit. Not that there's anything wrong with Hindus. but it confuses the matter quite a bit. Let's move on to the next story. Former Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin, who was one of Europe's youngest leaders, quits politics. She done. She finished. She is leaving Finland, in fact, to join a nonprofit in London. She's just going to be a regular paper pusher. Well, that's not quite true. She's going to be in charge of some stuff. And because she has that clout, she's not technically out of politics. She has still plenty of big time folks on speed dial in the phone. But she's going to use that influence to do more nonprofit work, things to work towards handling a pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic work, and just general nicety stuff. She's only 37 years old, and she, of course, Prime Minister of Finland, very famous for going out and partying, because that's what you do when you're 30 years old. You go out and party after you celebrate a great big old win in foreign policy. She is done. She is over with politics, let's say at the moment. As we see here in the States, where people get into politics, and then for a while, once they've reached that sort of ceiling, they go work for private companies, they build other things, they be CEOs, they be presidents of they are presidents of universities, and then they run for president again. Although she was already prime minister, so we'll see how that works out. Technically, we're skipping errors, apologies, and omissions, because we're going to bring up the big story that no one's talking about in a moment in the tease for the weekend. But this is where we talk about things that we're not so much talking about. We only pick 8 stories more or less for the main feed here. So of the 15 that we go through to give a chance of love, we usually give some love to that, or something that's not being talked about, or something that really misses the mark. It's not in the range, but it's kind of important. This one was in the mark because we talked about it yesterday. We'll go to our teaser, move along with that. We're going to tease a story on Hurricane Lee, because we actually put in the feed today or yesterday the fact that it was going to gain strength and probably threaten the Keys and maybe even the mainland of Florida. Now we put in today what may happen, what has happened, and we will talk about over the weekend as we watch it. The fact that it's become a Category 5 hurricane all of a sudden, and it's headed for the islands in the Caribbean right now. Right, not sure where it's going to go because it's still pretty far off, but it went from 1 to 5 pretty quickly, so people are keeping an eye on it. Will we talk about this story come Monday? You can decide that. You make all the choices on this one. The teaser story that we present to you, and all our stories, are posted on our feeds on Facebook and X or Twitter. Go to thisisaconversationproject.com go to facebook.com/thisisaconversationproject and twitter.com or x.com/th_conversation. The more engagement you give to a story on whatever platform, the higher chance we have of talking about it. Come Monday, we're going to pull the top 30 stories from the weekend. We'll get 90 or plus stories all weekend long for today and tomorrow and Sunday and a little bit of Monday. We'll pick the top 30 in engagement and give you 10 of those in this program here. Tuesday through Friday, such as today, you got 8, and 8 came from top 15. It's that simple. Go follow us on our feeds and keep us talking about stuff all day, all night long. Our sponsor for Spotlight for today is Zenni Optical, and this is very conical for me right now because I just went to an eye doctor yesterday and I have a new prescription now. Excuse me. Those of you who follow my story know I just bought new glasses literally weeks ago. And so I'm going to get another pair of glasses again. And I'm not worried about the big cost or saving anything because, one, I need spare glasses. I lose them all the time. And two, they're so affordable at Zenni Optical. These aren't just cheap glasses. These are inexpensive glasses. I need to say inexpensive. Cheap means that the quality is not great. My last pair of glasses lasted me 2 years, and just by the time I realized that it was the tint that was starting to fade off and make it hard to see, I got them quickly, simply, and inexpensively. I've wear the same frames for a decade. I've changed up various tints and lenses. I've gotten other lenses with deeper tints for sunglasses, and these things are affordable. They get you quickly. They look pretty good, I think. Men's, women's, and children's glasses of all shapes, all sizes, and all technologies are there at Zenni Optical, and all super affordable. Check them out at our affiliate link. This is theconversationproject.com/Zenni. This is theconversationproject.com/Zenni. You may pay for the pair of glasses I'm going to buy today to get next week to replace these lenses. Maybe you can help us out with that. Now, this is an affiliate link, so that's how it works. We get a kickback from your buying it. We bring you into the store. This is our commission, but it costs you nothing extra. And trust me, it won't cost you very much for a great pair of glasses at Zenni Optical. Conversation Project lives at this is conversationproject.com, and where we give you plenty of great things, conversational news stories every single day and all day, all night on our feed. So we need your help, though. We need your help to keep things going. Number one, as we say often in the show, you tell us what to talk about by engaging on stories in the feed. So do that. Go to Facebook and Twitter or X and just engage in stories. Email us at the conversation inbox. That's the conversation inbox at gmail.com. That will give you a chance to tell us what you really think about us. Don't worry, don't be shy. We can take it. We're adults. And you can also go to our website and look for other things, including our sponsors links, more sponsors there at the website, and links to our partnership page for things, how you can partner up with us to help us get things going. We appreciate any help you got, but the big important thing is to keep emailing us with suggestions and follow the feed so we know what to talk about. Now, it's time for the second show. The fun stuff happens, and we prepare, and we get to the fun stuff right now. Fun stuff always begins with birthdays for the day, and today is September the 8th. Birthdays for this day include Bernie Sanders at 82 years old today. Happy birthday, Bernie. Pink turns 44 years old today, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas, because we gotta keep bringing that whole 90s vibe back in Tiger Beat and all that stuff. I don't think he even does anything in the world of movies or TV anymore, but he's 42 years old on the day, so that may make you feel a little bit older than you did, because you should, because he's old and you are too. We're going out for our history lesson for today. On the 8th of September, going back to 1930, 3M began marketing Scotch transparent tape. Scotch tape, happy birthday to you as well. Also, birthday wishes to Star Trek, as the series premiered on this day on NBC in 1966. The show famously only lasted 2 seasons, but lived on our hearts forever. Garnered from that cast, I think, 5 movies, and then The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Enterprise and all those other things. So the Star Trek Enterprise is alive and well. Star Trek itself, more or less considered a bomb as it was on live TV, but turned into such a cultural reference that it overtook everything, born this day more or less in 1966 with the premiere of the pilot from the second pilot. Remember, the first pilot got panned and was retooled into what is now called the original series. And in 2006, a Senate report halted intelligence gathering in the lead up to the 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq. Faulted intelligence gathering in the lead up to the 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq. I read that 3 times beforehand and still mess it up. Now, we invaded Iraq in 2003 based on some details that were given to us, a nice big old Senate hearing and stuff like that. Problem was, it wasn't true. Have we done this before? Probably. To this extent? Probably not. Are we doing it now? You know, I was in the military, and I don't doubt that there's some not quite exact intelligence going out there to make some things happen. Don't send the black helicopters my way, please. But if you believe that everything the government is saying is truly 100%, then that's where the issue is. Not that they are lying to us, but they are misleading some things to make sure some things work in certain favors. It is the case. Don't send the black helicopters to me today. September 8th celebration is Ampersand Day, and it is, seriously just a celebration of the ampersand, that little and sign, literally in the name that's in there for shortcut for saying and. Ampersand Day is a day. Put it on everything. Put it in bold. Put it in Times New Roman if you want to. But today is a day to use all the ampersands you want to, because they're free. Well, they're free anyway, but use them today and tell people it's Ampersand Day. They will have no idea what you're talking about. Tell them to watch this. We'll explain it, like I just did a moment ago. And finally, things you might not have heard. One more thing you might not have heard for today. A new report analyzing cubicle and desk usage in 24,855 workspaces. Let's read that because we're going to actually cut this up for video later. And finally, one more thing you might not have heard. A new report analyzing cubicle and desk uses in 24,855 workspaces across 9 regions of the world found that 36% of desks are never occupied. Not all parts of the office are in disuse. Meeting rooms for 2 to 3 people are 90% full on average, so people that gather in large places are used fairly frequently. But the actual cubes in your cube farm, many of them not being farmed. With that, we're done for today. Friday, the September 8th edition of Things you might not have heard. Thank you so much for joining us for our broadcast. We appreciate you if you popped in live at 5:50 a.m. Central Time or watching this on a replay anytime, anywhere. Today is Friday, so we're prepping for the weekend. We have two shows that come out on the weekends. One's called the Weekly Wrap Up, which ironically, we just wrap up all the stories of the week with the true scores of engagement. Your top 10 stories from every single day, all put together, and we'll let you know, or all for the week, we put together as one big list. We also take one of those stories, expand on it, and give you the story of the week. So that's going to happen on tomorrow. You'll hear that. You'll see that come over the weekend for our weekend shows. We also are preparing for Monday's edition of this one. So make sure you're following us on our feeds all weekend long. So you'll help us vote up the stories that are big for the weekend come Monday morning. Make sure you are staying limber, staying hydrated, and on task on the day. We're going to roll out this thing pretty quickly because we got a big old Friday to get to. So let's get into it. You enjoy your Friday. I'll do my best to enjoy my Friday, and we'll be back for an enjoyable weekly wrap up tomorrow and an enjoyable Monday's edition of Things You Might Have Heard. Thank you so much for being a part of the gang. And oh yeah, it's Friday, and get back and forth in your head because that earworm, I promise you, you're gonna hate it, but it's there. Thank you.